Welcome to my spoiler-free yet spoiler-filled review of Game of Thrones Season 4, and the reason why this is going up a bit late is because if you can't tell by the sound of my voice, I've been a bit sick, so I wanted to wait for the right time to do this review. But anyway, I digress. My history with Game of Thrones is somewhat interesting because I didn't start watching Game of Thrones until Season 2 was about to premiere, and the reason why I didn't see Season 1 prior to that time was because I just missed the first episode. I never jumped on board, and given that, you know, everyone kept on telling me how great the show was, I decided to make it an effort to go back and watch the first season, and then, you know, watch Season 2 because it was coming up. I went back and watched it, and it was something that I really liked. Didn't quite love, but I really liked it. But by the time Season 2 premiered, for whatever reason, I somehow lost interest. I don't know why, it just kind of happened. It became one of those shows where I would have on while I'd be, you know, doing something on my computer or doing whatever, working on homework, whatever that may be. So therefore, I wasn't really paying attention to it, and that's the worst way to watch a show. And, you know, unfortunately, that's going to happen when you perhaps don't have the most interest in something. But even with that said, I did continue on to watch Season 3, and even though I was a little lost in some of its details, I was still able to follow it, and I was still very much able to enjoy it. I absolutely loved Season 3. And after going back and watching Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 in preparation for Season 4, I can now say that I don't know what the hell was wrong with me when I was watching Season 2, because Game of Thrones is a phenomenal show. It's one of the best shows, at least from what I've seen of all time. It's amazing how well written the show is. And what I love about it is that it's not like, you know, The Walking Dead, where it's either afraid to kill off significant characters, it doesn't know how to write characters. I mean, I don't know, the show has become a complete mess, in my personal opinion. But what I love about Game of Thrones is that it can take characters, write them incredibly well, flesh them out, and then axe them off and then create another character that might just be as good, or if better, than the previous character that it's replacing. And when the show does kill off a character, it doesn't feel as if it's just trying to induce a cheap shock. No, it's actually trying to pinpoint the narrative in a certain direction. And again, I hate to go back on Walking Dead again, but, you know, it's not like Walking Dead where it has to halt the entire narrative in order to flesh out a character either. But my biggest problem right now with The Walking Dead is how it tries to build up its characters within the last second of the character's death. I mean, Game of Thrones doesn't do this. Game of Thrones will spend a season or seasons trying to build up characters, trying to give the characters some kind of character development or something, some kind of substance. Meanwhile, Walking Dead, it's just like, oh no, we didn't give this character any development before it's about to die, so guess what? Well, we'll shoehorn some kind of character development in here in the last second, so maybe at least the audience will feel something. No, Game of Thrones doesn't do that crap. Game of Thrones is the kind of series that treats its audience or readers with great respect. It doesn't treat them like they're stupid. But not only is some of the writing on Game of Thrones on par with some of the greatest of what cinema has to offer, it's also got some phenomenal performances. Peter Dinklage is great in the show. And I absolutely love it when you have an actor such as Peter Dinklage, who we've all seen in, you know, minor roles here and there, come out with such a hell of a great performance. He really has proven when he's giving something of substance, he can do a lot with it, and I think he arguably gives the best performance on a show that is filled with spectacular performances. Here are just some of the actors who give great performances on Game of Thrones. I'm not going to name all of them because there's a lot, but here are just some. Sean Bean, Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, Lena Headey, Rory McCann, Charles Dance, Michelle Fairley, Conleth Hill, Gwendoline Christy, Richard Madden, Aidan Gillen, and of course Jack Gleeson as the very infamous Joffrey. Alright, so I'm now at the end of the spoiler-free section of this review. If you want to know my overall opinion on the show, if I were to give each and every single season a rating, Season 1 would be a strong 4, Season 2 would be a 4.5, Season 3 would be a 5, and Season 4 would be an even bigger 5. Although Season 4 does indeed have its highs and lows like every other Game of Thrones season, Season 4's highs was some of the absolute best television I'd ever witnessed. And when I say that there are highs and lows, I'm saying that there are characters, there are plot lines that you will be more invested in than others. But at the same time, though, I think that's okay because, like I said, the highs far outweigh the lows. And the lows aren't so bad. Overall, if you're someone who has yet to check out Game of Thrones and you're someone who is a fan of great writing, great storytelling, and intricately crafted characters, then you'd be doing yourself a disservice not to check this show out, because it is quite phenomenal. And that is a word I don't use all too lightly. Alright, so now I'm about to get into spoiler territory, and for those who don't want to be spoiled, I highly recommend clicking out of this video because I am about to spoil the hell out of Season 4. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the highlights for Season 4. So if you're expecting me to talk about Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, or Stannis Baratheon, then you're going to be kind of out of luck, because those are the characters and plot lines I find to be the least interesting. Not bad, just they're not my favorite. I'm going to start by talking about Arya and the Hound, and as I'm talking, I'm going to presume that you know what I'm talking about, because I'm going to presume that you've seen what I'm talking about. So there are going to be no fillers, nothing like that. It's just going to be me talking, kind of giving my opinions and whatnot, or whatever. Anyway, Arya and the Hound. Loved the relationship, thought it was quite excellent. Very well done. However, I do have a problem with how their relationship ended, with the fight between the Hound and Brienne of Tarth, which was excellent, by the way. The Hound obviously loses and is about to basically die. He's basically dead already. He's just kind of slowly dying. But my problem is just how cold Arya was. I understand that she wanted to kill him at first, but as you see throughout the entire season, and even some of last season, that they do greatly bond. And I just don't believe Arya would have left him to die. Yes, I understand that he said some horrible things to evoke some kind of anger so that she would stab him and end his life, but those words were very hollow, and I believe that Arya is smart enough to know that, and in fact I do believe that she did know that. I just don't quite get why she would let him suffer the way she did. But other than that, though, I really don't have any other significant problems. So now I'm going to rewind a bit to the very start of the season and talk about the Purple Wedding episode, which is one of my favorite episodes in all of Game of Thrones history. And why is it one of my favorite episodes? I think you already know. It's because that little shit Joffrey finally died. When I first started watching the show, he was one of those characters I hated so much with a passion, to the point I actually wanted to know if he's going to die at some point. I actually kind of had it spoiled for me. I didn't know when exactly he was going to die. I just knew he was going to die at some point. And when it actually happened, it was kind of sad, because I actually didn't want to see him die, because it got to where I hated him so much. I actually loved hating him. He was a character who would do such despicable things, to where I was just actually entertained by watching him do despicable things. And although Joffrey was indeed at times threatening, and he was malicious and, just all out psychotic, I actually found him to be quite funny too, because, not only was he a coward, he was stupid, but he was also inbred too. Joffrey was essentially that stupid rich punk that everyone hates, and I always loved it when Tywin and Tyrion would always kind of put him in his place in front of people. It was always funny to watch that kind of play out. But in regards to the Purple Wedding episode, where Joffrey was really kind of being the ultimate prick, when I heard that first cough, I knew that his death had finally come. And it was one of those moments I was just kind of like, holy shit, they're actually doing it. And then I saw it, and unfortunately, I kind of wish it had gone on a little longer, but seeing that blood come running out of his eyes and nose and mouth, and I mean, that kind of sufficed, because that was kind of brutal. Now, maybe perhaps it's not quite in the ranks of the contributions by Ramsay Snow. I still believe dying from the inside out had to be quite painful. So the good is that Joffrey is now dead, and Tyrion, my favorite character, is now blamed for his murder, because, of course, he was his cupbearer at the wedding. Joffrey took a sip of the wine, there was poison in it, and now he's dead. So now I'm going to fast forward to the 8th episode, which is the continuation of Tyrion's trial, which is, the trial by combat. And, of course, his volunteer was Oberyn, the Viper, and Cersei's volunteer was the Mountain. Now, going into the fight, there were really only two ways that it could have played out. Either Oberyn was going to win, or he was going to lose. I kind of had my money on that he was going to win, because I had a feeling that he was going to prevail, yet, knowing that he was on a revenge mission, he was pretty much going to cause utter chaos in King's Landing, and therefore causing more chaos for Tyrion. That's what I thought. However, it didn't play out that way at all. No, it was much, much worse, because throughout the entire fight, I was cheering, I was clapping for Oberyn to beat the Mountain. Not only for Tyrion, but for him because, you know, he was avenging his sister. And when he had him on the ground, he was talking shit. I was kind of like, well, you might want to hurry up. But I was actually happy for him. But unfortunately, he wouldn't stop talking shit long enough in order to finish him. And that's when I was thinking, oh shit, something is about to go south very, very quickly here. And then it happened. He gets knocked down by the Mountain, teeth knocked out. And then the Mountain basically gets on top of him and then starts gouging his eyes out. And at that point, I was kind of like, oh, this is really, really bad. And I remember actually screaming, no, 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 repeatedly at the screen, hoping that he could maybe survive from that, you know, because, I mean, you know, he just might not be able to see, but, you know, he'll be okay. Then his head explodes. And my reaction was essentially this. So after the verdict was announced that Tyrion was guilty and going to die, and after the credits rolled and I watched the previews for the next episode, I turned off the TV and I just kind of sat there for about 5 minutes, just completely stunned. I mean, this is something that actually had me a little shaken up, which is something that never happens to me. And what makes it even worse is that, yes, I already kind of knew how this could play out, but even in my worst imagination, could I ever imagine something quite like that? I mean, his head exploding? I mean, like a damn watermelon? I mean, that was kind of, that's insane. So let's talk about Tyrion in the final episode where he is released by his brother Jaime and is told to go to Lord Varys where he will take him to an undisclosed location. But before going to Lord Varys, he takes a detour to visit his father and get revenge. So Tyrion walks into his father's bedroom and he discovers that Shae, his former girlfriend, had been screwing his father. Tyrion goes to approach her, she sees him, she grabs a knife, she tries to kill him, so therefore Tyrion is forced to defend himself, which results in Shae's death. Then Tyrion grabs a crossbow, goes to visit his father while he's in the shitter, which was phenomenal. Really dug the character, quite awesome. However, he was a bit of a dick and he kind of deserved it, so Tyrion kills him. So later, after killing Tywin, he goes to Lord Varys. Lord Varys asks him, what have you done? They get on the boat, and as Lord Varys is kind of exiting the boat, he hears the horns, he kind of gets right back on, and he decides, I guess, to go with Tyrion wherever he is heading to. In regards to next season, I'm really looking forward to seeing where Tyrion and Lord Varys are going to go. And when I say where they're going to go, I'm not literally meaning where they're going. I'm talking about where they're going in terms of relationship, because it looks as if they're going to be together for a portion of the season. Like I said earlier, Tyrion is my favorite character. Lord Varys is quite awesome as well. And I can't wait to see what other things are going to happen throughout next season. Overall, this video is way too long. I am way too hoarse. And I'm Colyn Kirkland. And thank you so much for watching.